All right, Julia 5, thanks for that report. Joining me now to continue the conversation is Jason Isaac, founder and CEO of the American Energy Institute. Jason, thanks for joining us. We, of course, just showed everyone the Truth Social post from the president saying he's demanding answers from Canada's prime minister. Yeah, there you see it there. And we also have Ohio Republican Senator Bernie Moreno, who says he wants to see Canada punished. He's proposing possibly blocking assets and imposing fines. What do you think about these threats to hold Canada accountable? Is it too far, or is it just what is needed to prevent it in the future?
Well, I think you've got a lot of provinces in Canada that have adopted policies that have made it harder to mitigate this kind of damage caused from fires. And what they've prevented is prescribed burns, other land clearing techniques that prevent this from happening or decrease the severity from the fires that we're seeing happening today. So, and that's impacting our air quality. The United States is a world leader in clean air. We've reduced criteria pollutants, the stuff that's harmful in certain concentrations, by nearly 80% over the last 5 decades. And all it takes is some bad policies in Canada to impact our air quality and make it dangerous for certain people that may be susceptible to poor air quality. And so I think accountability is part of the solution.
So what is it that Canada is not doing correctly? Does it all go back to proper forest management like we have talked about in the state of California, for example? What exactly should they be doing differently from your perspective?
Well, forestry companies like fishermen are the best, I guess, preservers and best conservationists because they want to protect their lands and the water for their businesses and for their way of life. And it's been happening for thousands of years. You do prescribed burns, you clear the fuel off the lands, and now you have to get permits to do this. You want to go in and get old timber that's fallen down that's now fueling some of these fires. You've got to get excessive permits. So it slows things down and it keeps this fuel on the ground longer. And so that's what the provinces have done. They've adopted this overburdensome regulation so that they can virtue signal they're protecting the forest when what they're really doing is harming North America.
So this really goes back to excessive regulations based on, tree huggers is what it comes to mind. Is that really what we're dealing with, where people are wanting to protect the trees so much, or just, create some sort of additional revenue option, for the government in this case? Is that really what it comes down to?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Unfortunately, it is. These provinces bending the knee to the climate cartel that thinks that forestry is bad when it actually makes things more affordable. They're the ones that preserve the forest. And so let's pass some regulations because the businesses will absorb those regulations and the cost of those. And unfortunately, they get passed down to the consumers ultimately. And so you've got higher prices and people just go elsewhere. And so that's been a big detriment, is excessive regulations. You shouldn't have to get a permit to manage a forest.
Yeah, quick last question for you, Jason. What would you advise people to do who have yet to be affected by the smoke, that it's on the way? What would you advise them to do?
Stay outdoor or stay indoors if you can. I guess especially if you're elderly or young, this is something that millions of people face around the world, people that don't have access to affordable and reliable energy. UNICEF reports that 3.4 million people will die from illnesses attributed to indoor air pollution because they're cooking with things like wood and animal dungs and other forms of biofuels. That's why it's so important to have access to affordable and reliable energy that primarily comes from hydrocarbons. So now people are getting a small taste of that because of the excessive forestries that we're seeing burn through Canada. So that would be something I would advise people to remind themselves of, like, wow, other people, we have it so much better than everyone else. We have the option to stay indoors and not cook with wood. We can actually use good fuel. So just be mindful of that. But I would advise people that are at risk to stay indoors.
All right, Jason Isaac, well done. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. All right, Donald.